This is The Digital Key, Season 1, Chapter 4. In this episode, we will be discussing time crystals and digital structures. To start out, in the last episode, we talked about how the digital key is the sequence of phase flips which lead to resonance, or full emotional coupling within a structure. These phase flips are animated by nonlinear intersections between a subject and either a hierarchically superior individual, or under tautology, by the trendsetter within the in-group as the incoming consciousness. But these nonlinear intersections can be the result of reverse substitution events, or substitution events, further to an affirmational rhythm, or a negational rhythm, respectively. The negational rhythms are made regular through substitution events, each nonlinear intersection forming the boundary of that phase of the rhythm. Just as the affirmational rhythms are made regular through reverse substitution events, forming the boundary of that phase of a particular rhythm. To summarize, in reverse substitution, the incoming consciousness enters the vessel of the outgoing consciousness during the event, acting out the acquiescence to the impulse in question. This manifests, during nonlinearity, as the expression of that particular impulse. During substitution events, the incoming consciousness compels acquiescence to a negational rhythm, terminating that particular phase of that rhythm. The rhythms in each form are different. For example, the sexual cycle is an affirmational rhythm and the urination cycle is a negational rhythm. In other words, reverse substitution events and substitution events, or more specifically nonlinear interactions during each, create the patterns in our behavior which repeat periodically in time. People are trapped in the cycles created by these rhythms, compelled to repeat the patterns produced by these nonlinear interactions, which occur outside the ordinary experience of time. Now, emotional coupling, that is common tension release, is produced by the digital key, that is, the sequence of phase flips produced by nonlinear interactions, which leads to all members of a structure accomplishing a goal. But emotional coupling was also described as mirroring in social exchanges, common movements of release according to common impulses. That is, in any given structure, when two or more individuals are emotionally coupled, they mirror each other in social exchanges. In other words, emotional coupling possesses a quality of symmetry. In resonance, that symmetry expands to all the structure members within an in-group. In any four-person structure, with person A affirming and negating common impulses for persons B, C, and D, there will always be at least some symmetry within the structure. As the sequence of phase flips approaches resonance, that symmetry migrates through the structure until it includes all participating individuals. That is, digital structures which comprise affirmation of impulse 1 and negation of impulse not 1, or the reverse, only lose that symmetry if another impulse is substituted into the structure for one participant through preference shifting or sequential substitution. This means that sequential substitution can prevent the whole structure from attaining resonance while at the same time entertaining the possibility of no symmetry structure-wide due to impulse substitution. This is made possible by infinite recursion, where an analog or substitutionary structure sees the expansion of impulse 1 to the not set of impulse 2. The substitution of a new impulse, say impulse 2, for one person in a structure, sees the structure repeat a particular configuration periodically without attaining resonance. Unlike the digital key, which repeats every so often as a structure reaches resonance, this configuration repeats in time while representing symmetry breaking by the structure. In other words, as soon as an impulse substitution occurs due to sequential substitution, or preference shifting, what we have is something different entirely, almost like a time crystal. Instead of a sequence which migrates symmetrical behaviors amongst structure members preserving the rhythms in their behaviors, we have a repeating pattern which represents a breaking of that symmetry. If we imagine that hierarchically, through negation within recursion and affirmation outside of it, preference shifting or sequential substitution is reversed periodically before repeating, we have a structure that preserves a broken symmetry state within its configurations. This broken symmetry state ultimately impairs the in-group from attaining its goal-oriented action. In this way, the nonlinear interactions, which form part of the sequential substitution, represent actual shifts in the timeline associated with that structure member. That's the end of the podcast for today.